promise you this because the reach.
Okay.
Oh,
there it goes.
There it is. Oh, finally. Okay, I've been just kind of rambling, waiting for you to hop on. It's good to meet you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Good seeing you.
Yes, you guys, this is the first time we've ever met. I just watched him on Facebook, and I just randomly sent him a message and was like, hey, can you talk with the people about some of your favorite topics that you're so good at talking about?
Well, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yes.
Am I coming in loud and clear?
Yeah, good. Can you hear me good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you, see you good.
Yes.
I'm excited. I was a little nervous. I was on my desktop, and then the phone worked.
I forgot to tell you that I always use my phone for these for whatever reason. So sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, well,
that's all good.
We're here. So for my Facebook audience, they're like, who is this Will that Amy's like, woo, 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 and putting up in the lights? So who are you, Will? Like, what is your background? And where, I wanted you to kind of explain to people where you have found the knowledge and the wisdom that you have. What has that process been like for you? Because it literally speaks out of you effortlessly. Like, you know,
well, thank you.
Like it's a part of you. So yeah, how did this all unfold?
Yeah, no, thanks. So I've been publicly speaking this knowledge for almost 6 years now. And I came across this knowledge 10 years it's going on. And of course, like everything, there's a buildup, right?
Yes.
So I would say my journey to higher awareness was definitely in 15 years in the making. Even the early 2000s, 2012 was a huge transition. It was a catalyst. I became a father in 2013, so that jump started my my journey itself. And then and then really the information that I talk about really started in about 2015. And of course, you know, I stand on the shoulders of giants, people like Mark Passio of What on Earth is Happening, Jordan Maxwell, Terence McKenna, Michael Tessarion, some of the classical philosophers, Manly P. Hall. The realm of information that one has to really dive into is the realm of occultism, right? And that word itself has a triggering essence to it, because people are programmed and conditioned to what that word means. And it simply means hidden knowledge. So it's the most important knowledge of reality and human psychology. And I would say that was the starting point when I started to venture into occultism, occult knowledge, and then really applying it to myself and to what's going on in the world.
Yeah. And isn't it interesting, as you research, things just kind of intuitively, it's like things just start to connect.
Sure.
People come into your path and it just kind of all starts to make such perfect sense. And I think that's why, you know, as I found you in recent time, when I hear you speak, it's confident. You know your stuff. And I'm very passionate about this stuff too. But as you've seen, I've taken my freedom direction with the folks through the discussion of the food and the spiritual piece. But I wanted to, and I touch upon this sometimes, and whenever I do, it really ruffles some feathers, discussing the truth about what freedom really is, what truth really is, and what is the government. So can you kind of just start speaking about what you have discovered with all of this?
Absolutely. The triggering aspect that people feel, right? The adverse reactions, that's good and bad. It's good because it's touching on pain points that one can recognize and really, you know, shine their conscious awareness to why it's making them triggered. Why do they get upset and uncomfortable when they hear this type of information? And that's the path that one needs to seek. Travel down that path and ask yourself, why? Why does this make me uncomfortable? So it speaks to the programming and conditioning that we all have had, you know, in our youth and in the current time as adults as well. So mind control, programming, conditioning, this is nothing new. This has been going on for thousands of years. And there's a reason why that has been going on for so long, because it's all about controlling and manipulating perception. And to kind of mold someone's worldview. That's a key word, right? What is a worldview? Worldview is perception. It's the way that one thinks the world or reality operates. And this is the category that we're going to kind of touch on. So if you ask yourself, we have government, and in some countries they still have kingship and you know, these different type of hierarchies. Socialism, even communism still exists, right? But the question is, why do we have these control systems? Let's speak in our frame of reference in America, because we're both there. Why do we have government? Now, with the current selection, you know, debacle and theatricals, it's a touchy subject because people identify with the system. I am this, I am that. It becomes their very being. They've embraced it. It becomes religious. That's what it becomes. And again, that's hard for people to understand. But getting down to the philosophical and moral aspects of why we have government, and is it correct? Is it moral? And should we have government? These are the questions that people really need to consider and dive into with logic and reason and intuition as well, right? That heart-based intelligence. So my whole message is, well, I am an abolitionist. Government is eternally immoral, incorrect. It's a false ideology, and it is eternally slavery. Because the very mechanism and the very ideology of government is based on control, violence, and owning someone, which is the definition of slavery. And we can kind of dissect that a little bit, but you know, taxes is a good thing, which is theft, right? We don't have to use, you know, let's cut the euphemisms and call it what it is. Yeah. Taxation is slavery. It's a claim of ownership. Now, the government likes to, well, first, what is the government? The government is not an entity. You know, it's not a beast. It's not a monster. It's not something. It's people. It's individuals that hold an ideology, and the majority of people believe in this ideology, and that's what gives it power. Yeah. So the supporting and condoning of government is really the issue. And this is where people have a hard time with, because it's so easy to go down these rabbit holes and see that there's a control structure and there's these, you know, evil people doing bad things. And yes, that is happening for sure. But who is actually doing the behaviors and the actions in the world? Who is actually supporting this control system and the system of slavery that is based upon duress and violence, right? I mean, try opting out of property tax. Try opting out of sales tax. It's like, you know, the America, the land of the free, as long as you have your permits, license, regulations, pay your taxes, as long as you submit like a slave, then there will be no problems. That's what it really is. And it's hard. The ego really like kind of kicks in and starts making all these justifications. Well, we need government because people are evil inherently. So we need other evil people to protect us, which all of these are just justifications. Getting down to the root of, is it moral? Can I do this to my neighborhood, to my community, to my neighbor itself, right? Can I knock on my neighbor's door and say, hey, I'm collecting taxes. You know, you owe me a certain amount of money, or I'm going to take some money from your paycheck. Or can I say, 10 of my friends voted me to be the neighborhood leader, right? So you all have to pay me for my expenses and my sweat equity. No, everyone would say, you are crazy. Fuck off, right? Normal, sane people will say that. But when we apply that to the bigger picture of government itself, it's the same scenario. It's the same logic behind it. We are abdicating our responsibility, and we are abdicating our accountability to people, we're outsourcing that to be violated. So, and again, you could stop me anytime because I love talking about
No,
this
this is good.
information.
Yeah, keep going.
So,
yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people, because it's so programmed and ingrained that they wouldn't even know where to begin to not participate. I mean, even when I was posting this the last couple of weeks and people got irritated about my stance about voting, even just something as small as that, but that holds so much weight and power. In your perspective, what is voting? What are we doing when we go and we do that?
When the actual behavior of voting is you're going and you're consenting to the immoral slave system. Now that's one thing, right? You're giving your energy to it, you're consenting to it, which that ultimately doesn't matter because the voting system itself is just an illusion. If we look at a plantation, full of slaves, getting the slaves to vote for a leader, does that make them free? Does that make them off the plantation? No, it's the illusion of change. So this system, that's why I say politics is theater. This has been said by many philosophers, for hundreds and hundreds of years. That's because it is. It is a show. It's a performance to keep people, keep their focus, their attention, right? Their true spiritual currency focused on this illusion that change is happening if they just vote a leader in. If they vote someone to impose their views and their will onto their neighbors and other people. Now, it's a classical Hegelian dialectic. For a dialectic to actually work, you have two sides. Now, it doesn't matter what side you choose, they both lead to the same outcome. So it's not really about left or right, Republican or Democrat. They're two wings of the same bird. They both lead to the same control system. The people behind the veil have an objective where they want society to go, and they're going to get it there because of people consenting and giving their power to this system. So it is literally theater, right? To think that you are going and voting and that vote is counting and you are actually choosing a leader, it's extremely ignorant of actually what the system is and the history and the validity of the system. I mean, you need to take some more research and look who is actually in control. The president or the president-elects or the politicians, these are strictly puppets. They are faces to give to the public so the public can see them and say, oh, these are people in charge. These people have authority, which is the key word. And that's what the religion, when you sum it down, that's what it comes to. It's the belief in human authority. It's the belief that other humans have a moral right to issue and dictate commands to other humans. And those humans have to obey those commands. And if they don't, the goon squad will be sent out, called the police and military, and they will violate you. So voting is strictly a charade for the illusion of change. Now, with the dialectic, it only takes one side to buy into the dialectic. Because the other side, if they don't have knowledge, they are going to react or defend themselves from the behavior or actions from the baited side. So when we see Trump get elected and people are saying, oh, we're gonna become more free, we're getting our country back, they do not understand polarization dialectics, simply put. And this is a principle and a law in nature, polarity and rhythm, right? Rhythm and polarity will compensate. So it's just going to one extreme to the other. The last 4 years, it was extremely left and people are complaining about that. Now it's going to go extremely right and people are going to complain about that. The whole thing is just one big distraction to the public to keep them from discovering the most important knowledge and information, which is Objective morality, meaning the correct and truthful definition of right behavior versus wrong behavior, and natural law, which is the governing dynamics that brings a society the condition of their choices, aka the law of attraction, the law of manifestation, true karma. Those two categories is the very heart of the hidden knowledge of occultism, and it is the very foundation of what the social engineers, the parasite class, absolutely do not want people to understand. As soon as people start understanding this information and taking it in and embodying it and aligning their behaviors and their choices with that truth, with that knowledge, and they start spreading that information, then the power of the control system starts to diminish and it is eradicated, because the very small amount of people behind the veil, the social engineers that are the manipulators, they are very few. It's the people that are condoning and supporting is what gives the system power. So,
and there's a lot of people doing that. I mean, and one of my questions that I had for you too was, it's really interesting because there's this big wave of the world that really feels that they have awakened and they're becoming very aware, but they continue. So the categories of folks that I kind of brought up to you today was, those people that feel they didn't get vaccinated. I awoken during that. I didn't fall for that. Or maybe I'm a real spiritual person, or maybe I'm really healthy. Like I'm awake. I see what's going on, but they still support the politics, the religion, the school system, which led me into that next conversation that I wanted to have with you, is how is that all intertwined together? Because it absolutely is. And for those people that you feel like, oh, I've awakened, but you still are participating in all of that, the celebrities, all of that, how is that all intertwined? And if someone wants to fully get aware and awaken, what steps do they need to go through in their mind to keep going, to get further, so that all of it, all the chains can be removed off of them, and they're and more in a place of freedom? So I know that 15 questions in one, but just
it all relates. It all relates to that main one question. What does it mean to be awake? We see this word get thrown around so much in New Age circles. I mean, in every category, right? Doesn't matter what circle it is. It's trending right now to be awake and aware. Yeah. And this is where you get into, the philosophy of, well, what does that mean? What does that mean exactly? To not have the foundational information of how reality works and how our psychology works, and what does that mean to reality, to the condition either one is in, the individual, and society itself. This is the foundational bedrock of information. And if your foundation is not strong, then the structure, the temple, it's going to crumble, right? So it's not going to be solid. So I'll give my definition, and then we can kind of go from there. To be truly awake means you understand what unity consciousness is, meaning you understand how you operate, that your thoughts are prime, your emotions are amplifications, and your actions, your performed energy in the world, which is what constructs your influence. Unity consciousness is, as I think, so I feel, and so I act. That's the correct way to operate as a human being. If you're in internal contradiction, meaning you think something, you have your intentions, you feel something different, or you might even feel the same as your intentions, but you act differently, you are in internal contradiction. Your actions and your deeds are not matching what you say, what you think, say, and feel, right? So that is a contradiction. And a lot of people are in that state that claim to be awake. They say they're awake. They see that something's wrong in society. They even see a control structure. They even know all the inner workings of it, but they don't act on that. So to know and not do is really to not know, because you have to act and perform the energy in alignment with your thoughts, right? To be correct, to be operating with integrity. Now, so understanding the self and understanding natural law, right? These two things, they go hand in hand. Natural law, I'll define what natural law is. Let's start with natural, which derives from nature. Nature is a Cometian word. It's pronunciated netcher, right? NTR. So this is ancient Egyptian. And it means creator, God. That's what it means. When I say the term God, I'm talking about source, the supreme mind, the all. I am not talking about any of the cultural religions, any of the man-made books, what they consider God. I'm not talking about that. So I'll just say, I'll say source or the all. And then natural meaning of, from, or like creation. From God, from source, from all. So we look at the natural world. We know that's not man-made. We know that's from creation. So that's natural, creation. And then law, the correct definition of law is an immutable and binding, unchanging, objective condition or dynamic in reality. For instance, thermodynamics, magnetism, etc. Right? These are non-man-made. They're binding to us all. It doesn't matter if you believe in them or not. They apply to you. So natural law is the metaphysical, the spiritual laws that govern behavior of human beings. It is moral law. Now, we defined what morality is. It is the definitive difference between right and wrong behavior. So for someone to claim that they are awake, which again, it's not really a destination, it is a journey of a awakening, because there is no perfection in this reality. We are here to learn, grow, and evolve in consciousness. But to get to a level of where you know the truth of what is going on in reality, you must understand yourself, you must understand natural law and objective morality, right? And then from that information, you can understand that if you apply it to the world, that we are in this system. 99% of human beings, 99% of human beings are acting immorally because they condone inhuman authority. They condone and support government, which is continuing this condition of slavery. So natural law is the law of attraction, right? It's gonna mirror our behaviors and actions, and gives us the quality and condition of our free will choices. So this is all self-induced in the aggregate, in the collective, and we are doing this to ourselves. The good news is that we can apply the solution, which is knowledge and action. So those categories, natural law, objective morality, and unity consciousness, what consciousness truly is in that aspect, we need to educate ourselves on that. And again, just knowing it is not good enough, right? We need to activate, meaning that we need to align our choices, our free will choices, and our behaviors to what is moral, to what is right. And we need to speak and educate others in the world. So that's what it truly means to be awake. And again, these little facets. Can you understand health and what it means to be, healthy and whole? Absolutely. This is all incorporated in the temple, the self, and reality as well. But again, you have to go down to the foundational information. And unfortunately, a lot of people in a lot of circles, that are claiming higher awareness and they are claiming that they are awake have no idea. They still think morality is subjective, that human beings can just say what right behavior is, right? That it's not inherent in the very fabric of nature itself. And that they can support, control structures like religion, or public schooling, government indoctrination, or the materialist, pharmaceutical industry, etc. So all the answers are there within nature and within ourselves. It's just having that care, which is true love, care and desire, that focus to really apply ourselves and educate ourselves. And for some people, that is extremely brutal because it does one thing. The information that I talk about, why it's so hard for people to consider, is because it holds a mirror up to the individual that is listening right now and that is taking in the information. Because what I am implying and what I'm saying is that you need to look in the mirror and analyze your thoughts and actions, what you support and condone in the world. And that's brutal for people, right? That's real shadow work. And it's tough. It's tough for a lot of people.
And even identifying what that is and why. Why am I supporting that? Why do I believe that? Is that what I really feel? That's what I'm constantly trying to help folks with, by just getting rid of even like the chemical toxins and poisons out of us, because we've got to go inside, because all of it's in there. All of this stuff, we might not be able to say it like you will, but it's felt because it's who we are. All of these things, these words that scare people, manifestation, all of that, I'm sorry to say, whether you like it or not, it's how we're built. It's in us.
Correct.
So we can continue to just focus on these political people, these religious people, the television, and are so lost and disconnected from who and what we are, or we just clean ourselves up and spend some time inside of ourselves and not focus so much on that external theater, like you said,
Exactly.
And put on the political show just a couple of times this season just so I could puke. And I mean, if someone could really just take a step back and look, it looks theatrical. It looks like are watching a movie, a game. It's corny even. I mean, it's so anyway.
Yes, absolutely. It very much is. And when people understand that, and again, I can give, we can talk more about resources and solutions later on before we get off the stream, but it's all own power. I mean, just look at like cultural religion, and you have like a priest or a rabbi, or even the new age, right? A shaman, what a new age shaman is, or some type of spiritualist leader. These are people that are trying to be arbiters of truth. They are trying to be the middleman between you understanding yourself and understanding truth in nature. That own personal path work that one must do to develop that relationship, which, I mean, we are part of nature. We are not separate from it. And all of nature is based upon relationships. So what an individual does affects his or her environment, right? And we add up all those individual units, all those individual people, and that's where we get the collective and the totality. So, why this information is important and why it's important to, end slavery. And, one thing I'll say, like the abolishment of government, right? And people are so stuck on being safe and secure. First of all, the universe and nature owes you zero security. Like, you're here, you incarnated here in reality. And absolutely, that does not mean that you're just going to be safe. Like, even as a baby and a child, you fall down, you hurt your knee, you learn from that. You learn not to touch the hot stove. This is all learning what to do and what not to do, right? So, but you're not guaranteed safety, but with government, you are guaranteed to be violated. So that's all government does. It takes from everyone. It doesn't build anything on its own. It doesn't create anything on its own. It steals and robs from people. and puts out false promises. So the responsibility and the accountability of ourselves, this is what it means to be a spiritual adult. And unfortunately, the majority of people are infants in their spirituality.
Yes.
And what does it mean to be a human? It means that you are responsible for your thoughts, emotions, and actions. You are responsible for what you create and what you do in the world. So you owe everyone. These are the two principles of sovereignty, right? You owe everyone one thing, and that's do no harm. And if harm is transgressed upon you, you have the right to defend yourself. These two basic principles are so easy to understand, and a lot of people agree with those. They're like, yeah, okay, don't harm anyone. And if someone's trying to harm me, then yeah, I have the right to defend myself. That's so simple. Now apply that to government, apply that to the world. And that's where people start having a really hard time, because government doesn't live up to that moral standard at all whatsoever. So
at all.
Adulthood, that's what we're trying to reach. We're trying to reach adulthood for sure.
So I'm sure that you have places that we can go to hear more from you, or just kind of learn more about, because this is just kind of like the surface. There's a lot more that people can gain from you.
Absolutely.
Where do people find you? Or do you do podcasts? What do you do?
Yeah, I do podcasts. I have many interviews, and I think probably my best work is my presentations themselves, because I give you visual aids. And unlike today, like I know I just threw a whole bunch of stuff to think about into the stream. And we can dissect any of that, or if anyone has questions in the chat, for sure. I embrace healthy pushback or questioning. But in my presentations, I use a logical progression. So I start very simply, and I build my way up to a certain message as well. But the deprogramming and conditioning, it's a brutal journey, because we were raised with a lot of this information. I mean, parents are still teaching this incorrect information to their children. This has been going on for thousands of years, right? I mean, the social engineers, they know this knowledge of natural law and human psychology at a profound level. So they know how to manipulate and influence individuals and large groups of people as well. So this has been going on for a long time, and it will change. The control system will switch and change, just like as it, traditionally it was kingship, and then the people start realizing, what, this person that's saying that they have the divine right to rule over every other people, this is not right. So they start to kind of push back against that control system, and then it dissolves and turns into something else, like the Roman Empire goes into the Holy Roman Empire. And then, that changes into what we have now, democracy, which is just mob rule, right? Majority rules over everyone. So I will say, on a positive note, there are individuals that are activating, meaning they have spent the time and attention to take in this information, and they are making profound educational content. There's even, a full-blown motion picture that conveys the belief in human authority, the slave system, that what's going on here in America and many other countries really, really well. And that's the Jones Plantation. And I recommend anyone go and watch it. You could find it anywhere, Netflix, online, or you can go to the Jones plantation.com. And that was created by Larkin Rose, which is another, I consider a mentor of mine as well. It's extremely proficient in that topic. And the movie's great, because people are going to take this information in many different forms and fashions. Sometimes an allegorical movie will really sink the message home, so someone can understand it at a profound level. So, and then again, I always recommend people check out Mark Passio of What on Earth is Happening. And of course, my website, willkeller.com. and go through my presentations. And you can pick any presentation, and I'm going to tie in occult esoteric knowledge into the core message of natural law, the governing dynamics of reality and ourselves. So
now, do you help folks that want to disconnect, meaning little bits and pieces? How do they become truly free? Because I know in my situation, I
information,
still have little bits and pieces that are still in it, and it drives me crazy.
yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Where
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
very hard to be completely free when it's all intertwined in the medical system and everything, insurance and homes, and it's like, wow, it's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of people aren't going to like my answer to this, but it is the truth. It is a fact. There is no getting out of the system. There is no exiting the matrix. The matrix is the mind of an individual. It is the state of your mind. Are you enslaved, or are you free in your mind itself? Because that's where it all starts. It starts in your mind. To take in the knowledge, the information that I've been speaking about today, because it is the foundational framework of reality, right? But so many people want to exit the system. They want to exit the matrix, right, and detach from government. The control system is in every aspect of everyone's life. Sure, you can move to the top of a mountain and don't participate in society in any form or fashion. Sure, you can do that. Large communities of people can go and homestead, and there's no way around that. Like that's not gonna suffice. You're not gonna get thousands of people together and make a stand on a piece of land in some country. You're going to be violated regardless. And what are you going to do about technology? Like, technology is the tool that we need to embrace. Technology is what is going to get us out of slavery and into freedom. And why would you want to exit fully out of a system when your human family and other beings like animals, we are all enslaved? This is something that a deep spiritual law that we need to understand, is that we are all interconnected. The correct thing to do is to educate yourself and get on the battlefields. Like, we are at war. It's not about running away from that. It's about facing that and participating in that act of war to end slavery and to end the violent control structure and the ideology. And it's an interesting war because it's one that is covert. Its means by which it operates is covertly. It is mind control. It is in your neighbor's mind. It is in your family members, maybe your spouse, your children. It's infected in everyone. These are the people that we need to reach. These are the enemy that we don't need to kill, but we need to educate and inspire to wake themselves up and to stop participating in this slave system. So that's something, I touch on all those aspects. I touch on shadow work and methods to to align one's thoughts, emotions, and actions into my work. But so many people want to be told what to do, and that's the problem. Like, I'm not a leader. Don't follow me. I'm here to educate and inspire you or anyone else to take the action within themselves to lead themselves out of mental slavery, get on the battlefield, and fight this war that we are doing. And I'm passionate about that, and that's why conscious parenting is one of my biggest topics, because the abdication of responsibility, the ignorance of this information and acting, right? You're just passing that down to your kids and to the next generation. I mean, we had that passed on to us, and this generational mind control and the slave system has been going on for thousands of years. When will it start? When will the tides turn is the question. It turns with individuals making the choice to take in information like morality, objective morality, what is right versus wrong, the belief in human authority and why we have government, and how does reality operate, through natural law, the laws of nature, and act on that. And that's what it really comes down to. And why we have the technology now, becoming a public speaker is a profound act, because it's education that's going to pull us out of this. Until we don't have the means to communicate with each other, and then it's kinetic. And unfortunately, the majority of people are so ensconced and they identify with the system that it's going to be brutal. And the social engineers are still going to get what they want, which is depopulation that way.
Yeah.
So a lot to think about, right?
Interesting, that topic of exiting the matrix. I can't describe it well, but wherever I'm at in my mind, body, spirit, although I'm connected and I'm still engaged with the public and out my family and everything like that, inside I'm not in it. I can't describe it. Mm-hmm. But I'm in it. Sure. Not. It's like I'm floating somewhere above it, but I'm not in it. I've got ties and tethers, connected, because like you said, we have to, but I feel my spirit is not of it. So anyhow.
Absolutely. That's why, people that come into higher awareness, it's really hard to, hang out with family or friends, or just be out and just normal society and interact with people, because people have been biologically and chemically and suppressed, right? And mind controlled as well. So it's very hard to relate to people on many certain aspects. But the journey is one step at a time, and you have to start with the foundational gnosis, the foundational knowledge. And that's why I love a lot of your work too, because you touch on what's more basic than the sustenance that we put into our body. Like that is vital.
Yeah,
the spiritual and the physical are one and the same. Yeah. They are not separate, right? So if the hardware or the body starts to deteriorate, then of course the mind and the heart space isn't going to function properly, and vice versa.
Yeah. And then I feel like then they can hear even what you're saying. It's felt, it's understood. You know what I mean? So
for sure.
What I do is foundation. Like, this is the basics of being a human. The other stuff, the ascension and the elevation of oneself, comes once we can get the basics down. And
Absolutely.
you're explaining the basics too, but for a lot of people, it's too big of a jump, because they're, it's so ingrained to do these things and to participate in all this stuff. So that's why I knew we'd have a good conversation.
Yeah, no, yeah. Absolutely. I enjoy it. And I'm very open. I mean, people can message me on my website, and I respond as often as I can. I try to communicate to people. But that's the first step. I mean, to educating oneself is investing the time and the attention. Yeah. And, I mean, that can be hard for a lot of people, especially in this day and age where everything's so go. But slowing down and asking yourself, that mental diet is a really big category. Like, what are you watching? What are you investing your time and attention into? And to decondition oneself, there is a large investment of energy and time that needs to be put into it, because the control system itself has, I mean, for thousands of years, it's been going on. It's very well orchestrated and kept, but there's information out there if someone chooses to seek it.
Awesome. This is good. I won't keep you too much longer. I think that's an hour.
I'm not even sure. Okay. You popped on, and I'm ready to go, and I just started spewing a lot of stuff. So, but I'm open.
I don't want to keep you for too much longer, but yeah. Does anybody have any questions? If not, reach out to him for sure. He has lots of good content. Your TikTok. What's your TikTok? I like your TikTok too. Let's help you build.
Thank you. Yeah, I know. I want to go. I do a lot of live streaming, and I use a live streaming software. So I'll live stream either my interviews, my podcast, or mostly my presentations, so I can engage and interact. And I go to all my platforms, right? So I use a streaming software, but I can't go live to TikTok because you need like 1,000 followers or something like that, or subscribers.
So my followers, go follow him so he can get to that.
Yeah, I would appreciate that. That would be great. My TikTok is actually all of my social media platforms. It's at Will Tell Truth 93.
Okay.
You can get to all of my platforms and all of my content on my actual website, which is willkeller.com.
Okay.
And, there's another website that I can recommend too. I'm also on this platform. It's called the One Great Work Network. This is a network that's hosted by Mark Passio as well. And it's 77 content creators and educators that they express the same type of information that I do, but in many different categories, forms, and fashions. Whether that's health or, abuse, the family dynamic, schooling, etc. It's really good for people to kind of go check out the individual profiles and, find someone they like and they resonate with, and still gets that core foundational knowledge of natural law and true freedom.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we wrap it up?
I can't see the chat, so I don't know if
there's been commenting the whole time. So maybe after we're done, maybe you could just scroll through and see if there were any questions. Yeah.
Cool. Absolutely, I will.
Oliver, thank you for participating. Melanie, hi you guys. I wasn't even reading the comments. I was just listening. But I see links, please, and things like that. So we'll just go back through and just, if there's any information you could give them, that would be awesome, so that they can stay in contact with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Thanks for everyone that joined. And I love your work, Amy. Keep doing what you're doing. You're in the radiance. You're in your path. You're on your path. And that's perfect for today, 11/11, because that's exactly what it means. It means path work. It means you are on your path, and it's the truth seeker's call to seek it and speak it. And that's what we're doing today. So keep doing your thing, girl.
Yeah, you too. Well, so nice to meet you in person.
My pleasure. Right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.